Game one of the World Series. Go Dodgers. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, October 25th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Big thing coming out of this week is Dragon Age Veilguard had its launch trailer ahead of its launch on Halloween next week. Next Thursday, Dragon Age Veilguard would be launching. We get to see a 2-minute launch trailer, so it really sets up like what's going to be going on. It seems like some gods are fighting against each other, and you have to pick between the good side and the bad side, and get some factions to work together and all that kind of stuff. I really wish I knew what was going on. I just have literally no concept of like what is ever happening in any of the Dragon Age games, and like I don't know where this fits and like if there's even a timeline or how that works or how it's related or if this is even like Dragon Age 3. Like so like it seemed really epic and cool and I like fantasy games, but I just like did not understand what was going on. But it gave me all those fantasy vibes. I'll have to kind of choose between that and Metaphor, which one I want to pick up next. So, but I'm looking forward to hearing what people think of it next week when it launches. Speaking of games that actually launched this week, a Quiet Place, the video game, the game based on the movie, based on the game. Anyway, A Quiet Place: A Road Ahead launched this week, which I was actually kind of excited about. I saw it at, I don't remember if it was Summer Game Fest or Gamescom, but I like first person kind of horror experiences and the whole like if you make too much noise in your microphone, then that might cause the monsters to come get you. So I thought that whole aspect seemed pretty cool, but it seems like it's off to a rough start with a 67 Metacritic. It seems like it has a nice flashy hook and connections, but it seems like it's pretty shallow from what I'm reading on the reviews. So I might still pick it up. It seems like it might play over the course of like 7 or so hours. So curious, might be worth picking it up just to play, in a weekend or something like that. But yeah, I was kind of hopeful for this game, so kind of sad to see that it hasn't been received well. Moving right along, Assassin's Creed Shadow has canceled its early access. Originally, as part of the collector's edition, you got like 3 days early access, which early access is always something that like a really simple upsell. So I was surprised that they canceled this. I don't know if that brings any uncertainty into whether or not it's going to launch in February of next year. So do with that as you will. Another thing I thought was interesting is they gave $50 back as a refund. So you still get your statue and all your other stuff, but they gave you $50 refund. I hope that like Ubisoft doesn't believe that early access in and of itself is worth $50, but giving the customer back more money is good for them. So for anybody who picked up the collector's edition of Assassin's Creed Shadow, they won't be able to play the game early, but they will get $50 off their $280 collector's edition. And the statue did look kind of cool. So I haven't picked that up yet, but I'm curious if those are still out on the market somewhere. Overwatch's 6v6 mode is getting closer and closer. So for Season 14, which I don't know how long a season is in Overwatch, but for Season 14, or Overwatch 2 at least, in Season 14, we will get 6v6. So I wonder if my friend group, who are very big Overwatch fans, and players who will jump back in for that. I know that they wanted to really shake up the metal with Overwatch 2, but I think that's what caused people to kind of fall off. So, but they also, in one of the articles I read, they were like, it seemed like if the players aren't there, then they're just going to crank it back real quick, which I thought was a little like, well, if people don't show up, then we're just going to turn it back to what you don't like. So I don't know. It kind of seemed like a false promise there, or like a false threat. So, but I know that 6v6 is what everybody liked in Overwatch 1, and that went well. So hopefully, when they finally get 6v6 again, people show back, and maybe Overwatch can claw back some of that market share before Marvel Rivals launches at the end of the year. Nintendo did a online test this week, and rumors and leaks abound coming out of that. A lot of people were speculating on whether or not it looks like an MMO. Said there was like some Minecrafty vibes, and people, but you're on a planet and you're trying to collect beacons. Um, Sounds a little weird. I assume Nintendo's legal department is looking to button that shit up real quick. Um, but yeah, a Nintendo MMO that isn't like IP based. This isn't like Animal Crossing or anything like that. So it's like a new IP, but it's an MMO that we can play online with Switch. Um, Seems interesting, and also seems like a diversion from like Nintendo's original, a little bit of like their original values, as archaic as they are. I know that Nintendo hasn't liked online gaming because they don't want family friendly gaming gamers to be playing with adult M-rated stuff. So I know that Nintendo's always kind of shied away from making it easy to connect young children with mature adults, uh, for good reason. But so making an MMO that you can play online, even as kid friendly as Nintendo is, just seems like a little bit of a diversion from their typical path. So, but this is all based on rumors and speculations and maybe some slight leaks. So, um, yeah, like I said, I assume their lawyers are going to cease and desist and NDA the heck out of those people. Oh, I mean, who are probably already NDA'd. But I digress. Netflix seems to be jumping out of the games industry. They announced this week that they're shutting down their major gaming studios. They even had some ex Halo developers. Like they had a really big team set up to do AAA gaming. I know that they've been bringing in like some smaller games to their service, which I still don't even know how to like play games on Netflix, even though I have a Netflix subscription. But nothing that was like big or outlandish. And they've been working on a AAA game for a while, but couldn't seem to make it work. So I guess someone else will have to develop the Netflix of gaming, because it's not going to be Netflix as they shut down their studios. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. I also just think that there's a lot of problems at Netflix in general. I bet it's probably still one of the top streamers, but more and more often I find myself going, why do I have like what original content do I go to Netflix for? Is it just for like an archive of old stuff that I want to have access to? Because that's not really how I consume media. So yeah, I'm curious how many people are cutting the cords and whether or not Netflix's market share is dwindling. Um, but I'll have to look into those numbers later. Moving right along, the Steam Deck. Gabe Newell, I guess not officially Gabe Newell announced this week, but no, I think it was a quote from Gabe Newell that said that they're not looking to iterate on the Steam Deck, every year like the Apple model for iPhones. They're looking for more long life. I know the Steam Deck launched in, God, was it 21? And it's already been iterated. So we had like a mid series update that made I think the OLED screen and upgraded a little bit of the battery pack. So I know that they've been finagling with it, but it sounds like they're not intending to like put out a new Steam Deck every year and have you spend upwards of $1,000 for a new portable gaming console. So pretty cool stuff to see there. Glad to see good guy Gabe still keeping things classy over there at Steam. So hopefully my Steam Deck holds up for the next iteration, which fingers crossed isn't for a few more years yet. For as big as a Fallout fan as I am, I was surprised to learn that this week was Fallout Day fell on this week. Apparently, official Fallout Day is October 23rd, and that is when the canonic missiles dropped in the Fallout universe. Is on October 23rd. So across the board, across all digital retailers, you can buy Fallout games for a discount. So look for those on your favorite. The ones I saw, it was like GOG and Fnatic and all the other digital retailers. So look for Fallout discounts if you're looking to pick those up to get ready for Fallout Season 2. I saw some articles about that this week, that production might be kicking off sometime soon. Bloomhouse made a big splash this year at Summer Games Fest, and their first game, they announced like 6 or 7 games, I think, coming out of their conference at Summer Game Fest. And the first one also launched this week. It's called Fear the Spotlight, and it's currently being reviewed pretty well. So it is technically a re-release of a 2023 game, but they kind of turned it off and then polished it up and put it back out there. And it's got an 84 Metacritic, so people are obviously enjoying it. A couple of the articles I read talk about how it's like an intro to horror. So it's like it's a horror game, but it's like like your first step into horror. Which my first step into horror was PT. So I kind of dove in on the deep end on that one. But yeah, it's supposed to be it's got the like PS1 or PS2 era graphics. And it's got some light puzzling, and so it's not supposed to be your you know Resident Evil, Biohazard, or the deep hardcore uh, horror games. It's not Amnesia, Dark Descent, or anything like that. So it's intended to be a lighter experience and a entry level for horror, and is a good time for it. Launching just a week before Halloween. I know that my wife is not a big horror fan, so maybe I could get her into Fear the Spotlight. Last but not least, the modders have the keys to the kingdom for Baldur's Gate 3. And one of the cool things I saw this week was someone made a first-person mod for Baldur's Gate 3, and it's surprising for a game that's meant to be isometric how good everything looks when you're in first person. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see get somewhat almost Skyrim level of like you can walk up to a shelf and pick the stuff off of it like in like an Elder Scrolls game. And yeah, doing the combat system seems a little bit janky, especially with like trying to change levels, like jumping and flying, things you can constantly do at upper level Baldur's Gate 3 runs. But but overall, it seemed pretty. Some of the buildings actually have roofs on them, and like you can actually look up and see what was probably unintended. All in all, I thought it was a good thing, and I saw that the CEO of Larian reacted and said like, "Oh my gosh, it looks really well," and things like worked out well. So excited to see the modders putting some cool new spins, and might actually make for another cool, unique way to play Baldur's Gate 3 if you're looking to pick that up again sometime soon. But that is it for this week. Let me know if you feel I forgot anything down below in the comments. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. And I hope you have a super day. Bye.